Feel the lights, see the stage, hear the vibe. Pumped up to get ready for the fight. Big dreams, one chance, be the star. I'm the winner coming out of the dark. No fear, getting ready for the ride. Yeah, stepping into the light. No limit, aim high. No limit, the prize is mine.
Step out as a motivator. Let them know that the weight's up. That's how we know when we level up. Ay, that's how we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up.
Back against the wall, still I'm standing tall. Know about the ball, I got my fan with me. All we know is ball to empty out the mouths. The chosen one they call, I take my fan with me. Know about it if you tell, know you're breaking codes. What your credibility and all fall like dominoes. Can you really take a stance? All I wanna know. Need me real ones when it's time to go. Stepping in, elevator, listen to all the haters. That's all we know when we level up. Yeah, that's all we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up. I found out I'm not alone. 'Cause I'm just like you. There's no failing when we fight. We're not afraid to. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up.
ESL Mobile Open is brought to you by DHL and Pay Safeguard.
Welcome to the ESL Mobile Open weekly recap. It's week 3 and we're still on the hunt for the top competitors in Europe, Middle East and North Africa in 5 of our mobile esports. It's just absolutely unbelievable. My name is Banks and I'm your host, and joining me, this gorgeous man on my right, this absolute gaming sensation, is Lethal. What's going on, mate?
Oh, stop it, you. You're always making me blush as we go live. How dare you? But do you know what? Yeah, looking forward to, as always, to see how this week has panned out. As you know, it's getting another step closer to the plains, and not too long now.
Exactly. I mean, I've only been gone for a week, but I've missed you, Lethal. You know, me and you kicking back, talking about mobile games. You know, it's going to be good times today. Now, we've got the highs, we've got the lows, and we've got the blunders from this week's Mobile Open. It's all of our competitions. But before we dive in, we're going to quickly remind you guys at home of the format of the ESL Mobile Open.
Welcome to ESL Mobile, the home of mobile esports. ESL Mobile is a global program designed to give you an opportunity to compete in your favorite mobile games, featuring multiple game titles taking place in 3 regions and offering 2 levels of competition. There's something here for everyone. ESL Mobile Open is the gateway to competitive play, free to join and open to any resident of our supported regions. This is the best way for you to enjoy the thrill of victory and take your shot at winning cash prizes. Each season of Mobile Open will consist of 2 ladders, and the top competitors from each will qualify for the Mobile Open play-ins. ESL Mobile Challenge is your path to glory. If you are a top competitor in the Mobile Open play-ins, you will earn a spot in the Mobile Challenge season. The top team from each ladder will skip the play-ins and qualify directly for the Mobile Challenge season. This is where you'll have the chance to compete against the best players in your region. At the end of each season, top Mobile Challenge players will compete in the Mobile Challenge Finals to determine a winner and be crowned their region's champion. ESL Mobile is for everyone. This is your opportunity to join a diverse and growing community of players across the world and see just how far you can go.
firing off the facts for you in your very own format video so that you can just, understand how this format is going to work across the board for the remainder of the Fall Open. So we're going to be kicking off episode 3 of the weekly recap with the usual suspects. It is, of course, Asphalt 9, fast-paced action. And let's remember, this is a timed run, which you can have multiple attempts at as well. So chances are you're not going to find anyone that can get a better or a faster time in this, right, Lethal?
Absolutely. It's very difficult to try and get the top spot no matter who you are with the amount of players involved. And time trials is just that, completely different compared to multiplayer sister. Completely different kettle of fish in terms of the 1v1 aspects. But yeah, I'm sure we're going to see a couple of the usual suspects here.
But it's nice to have, a bit of variety amongst our games that we're going to be covering during the Mobile Open. So we've got the leaderboard that's going to come up on your screens very shortly because this is the 3rd week of competitive races. So we're going to have a quick gander. We got Nilo at the top of the iOS leaderboard with a 56.723, in fact. And anyone that you particularly recognize on this leaderboard here, Lethal?
Oh, I'd probably say only Nilo, and look at the time difference here. Well over half a second, which is not something you normally see on Asphalt, especially if it's time trials. And I'm very curious to see just exactly what he's done differently in comparison to the rest of the frame.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, look at that. 2, 3, and 4. Split seconds literally between them. And we're going to switch on over to Android now and have a quick look, see if we've got any usual suspects here. You might recognize a few of these names from the Spring Open if you were a frequenter of that show that we were on as well. Jägermaster sitting atop of the leaderboard. RPM Onio right up there, hot on his heels as well. I mean, Lethal, it's going to be the battle between these two, right?
I think it has been over the last few weeks, hasn't it? We can't really separate the two, just neck and neck. But this time round, Jägermaster is the one up by just under half a second. And again, we'll have to see exactly what he's done differently. Onio, everyone knows him, especially with the RPM team overall. And yeah, still the other players have not too far behind, but still quite a lot when you look at the bottom of the pack in comparison. So Jägermaster, again, another player we have to witness what he's done and maybe a lot more different in terms of nitro management or in terms of what he's done across the track. Looking forward to see how they've panned out this time around.
And you'll see what we mean when we say that we are extremely surprised by half a second between certain people, because you will see the speed that Asphalt 9 brings to the ESL Mobile Open and just the margin for error, something that we always talk about. It's just so slim. So we're going to have a look at the top 3 runs from each and every one of these iOS and Android users. So we've got iOS kicking us off right now. We've got Max Twax doing a bit of wiggle drifting before he comes around to this right-hand corner, and he's going to use this boost to get himself nice and shockwaved up for the top of the hill here, Lethal.
And you saw here, Max Twax actually missed the first car parked vehicle, which means he didn't get as much nitro, but still does wiggle drifting ever so slightly to the perfect nitro onto the next jump. And using a double nitro straight after. Remember, the double nitro is important so you can turn around these difficult corners, you could say, and then now using the shockwave once again to go over this next jump. And now he's going to get ready to shockwave once again. Good wall riding once again, trying to get as much value out of that as possible. And doing the 720 just to get a little bit more nitro. Will be, of course, double nitroing over this next jump. It's very difficult to try and turn these corners, so you won't really see any perfect nitros or shockwaves anyway, but the double nitro should last right up to the very end. And there we have it. Max Twax with a very good time there.
Extremely good time, I will say. A top 3 time, Lethal, even. You know what, though? Something I want to mention from you, something that you can maybe guide us through as well. You mentioned about clipping the parked vehicles at the very beginning of this run, which we'll hopefully see when we look at our next run. But what does that do? Talk us through that.
Clipping some of these parked vehicles will give you some extra nitro. It depends how long you do it for and how early you can scrape against those parked vehicles. Sometimes you get around 10, 20, 30%. It depends how early on and how efficient you want to be in terms of just trying to gain enough to get earlier shockwave, or maybe just using a double nitro around some of these corners. But look at this. Straight away, we're going to see a comparison between the first and second already. See Nilo there scraping against that first parked car as well. So trying to make sure they plan to get this shockwave up and time it perfectly over this jump, which they have done to continue the duration. But Nilo's still rocking the shockwave, whilst Fly there had to continue with the double nitro. But Fly does use that shockwave a little bit later. And once again, Nilo's scraping across the second parked car to get that shockwave a little bit earlier, get a little bit more duration there, and now Nilo will straight away use that shockwave on this straight and narrow road. As normally people will use that perfect nitro or the shockwave only on the straight and narrow roads because the handling is extremely difficult to use it on these two types of nitros.
It's impressive to see as well that Nilo took that right side, inside edge around that corner of the train yard, which allowed him to then scrape around the corner, not have to use up any of the drifting. He could just have his thumb on the nitro button the entire time, which sent him flying around the corner and has allowed him to get ahead by quite a significant amount to second place as well. I mean, we're talking, what, half a second, isn't it, between first and second, which, you know, in a racing game is a significant amount of time. And like you said, if those of you who are watching are into racing games, just remember, Asphalt 9, if you crash into a parked car, it makes you go faster.
To that degree, I'd say, yeah, it sounds weird, but it's just, yeah, of course, any other esport, yeah, it would be completely different. You'd avoid it like the plague. But yeah, in terms of nitro management, yeah, it's vital. You need to get as much value out of it as possible, depending on how early you actually scrape against that parked car. But Swen, we're going to be starting off with next. He's going to do the same, but you saw he was planning to do it, just missed it. So instead, what he needs to do, needs to wiggle drift a bit to make up for missing that parked vehicle, and we'll get a shockwave a slightly different way. But just to take note, though, when you wiggle drift, you do lose a little bit of speed. Not a huge amount, but enough to, you know, sacrifice some tenths of a second. And that's why you may see them wiggle drift along that point. But you saw he missed the second parked car as well, which means he had the perfect nitro up that jump instead of using that shockwave, which he did not use or wasn't able to accumulate, which is a little bit of a shame. But so far, it's pretty much the same on this part of the track with everyone else having to scrape by wall rides to get this next nitro, just getting that perfect nitro near towards the very end. So he's going to have to do a barrel roll here at this next jump whilst using the double nitro. Said it before, the double nitro has much better handling, which is why you've seen it on a consistent basis across this track. Not really too many narrow roads here, which is why you're seeing it a lot more often compared to the previous races you would have seen on a lot of the other time trials, but still a good run nonetheless by Swen.
Exactly. Good old Sven. Managing to get through. You might have noticed he's probably lost a fair amount of momentum, a fair amount of time for crashing into two of the cars, you know, directly behind or directly in front on two separate occasions on that particular run. So now we're going to have a quick look at the side-by-side first and second place on Android. And that's between RPM Onio and Jägermeister, or Jägermaster, shall we call him, two of the staple players, and boom, both of them hit that little side swipe, as we'll call it. But Lethal, I mean, can you differentiate between these two players? We're going to have to see what makes the difference, right?
Yeah, Jägermaster actually scraped the vehicle a lot longer, which meant that it didn't have to wiggle drift as much to get the shockwave. Onio had to, so he had to sacrifice a couple of tenths of a second to do that. Shockwave again coming from Jägermaster to do that roll as well off the jump to get a little bit more value across the board to keep that shockwave duration going. And again, Jägermaster having to do a few tricks up the ramp to continue and make sure he can get this next shockwave, which he has done. I like that as well. He broke a little bit earlier than necessary to then pick up the next nitro to get the shockwave once again. And this is where he's going to double nitro off the course of this next jump. Onio doing pretty much the same, a little bit faster from Jägermaster, but you're going to see if he can try and continue to collect these nitro bars to use that double nitro right at the very end, and that's why you saw that margin. So the very beginning was this huge difference in comparison. He scraped that first parts vehicle a lot longer. I would probably say an extra second, which means that you're on extra, what, 20-30% of nitro, which means it didn't have to wiggle drift. It didn't have to drift too much towards the end of that first jump, and it means you've got more of a chance to use that shockwave and get more durability at the end. So yeah, it's just shows how small margin of error there is between the two, especially these top two places.
Exactly. Once you go wrong, once you miss something, once you don't hit some nitro, it can all go Pete Tong, like you say, Lethal. I love that quote that you always give me. So after watching these runs from some of our top competitors, and if you're thinking to yourself, this looks pretty easy, put your email where your mouth is and sign up, ! Sign up. Follow all of the instructions and make sure you jump on in and give it a go, because you know what? This game is so much harder than you think it is. And Lethal, I applaud you for having competed in it in the earlier rounds of this game, the earliest versions of this game. And you can also win huge cash prizes, which, you know, comes secondary. Is that right? We're going to have loads more Asphalt 9 coming up in the coming weeks from the recaps as well. And we're going to hop off for a very short break now, but don't go anywhere, because we're going to be looting, shooting, and earning some chicken dinners with PUBG Mobile. See you in a bit.
ESL Mobile Open is brought to you by DHL and Pay Safeguard.
You know what, Lethal? Gaming wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for multiplayer games. And now that we have online massive multiplayer games like the genre of Battle Royale, they've launched competitive gaming, haven't they? So the ESL Mobile Open is a perfect platform for you guys to test yourself against some of the best players in Europe, Middle East, and North Africa, especially in this section with us two. So now it's time for PUBG. Now, Lethal, you've been playing a lot of PUBG recently?
I have done a bit, you know, here and there, just to de-rust, to make sure I keep up my skill set of knowing exactly what on earth's going on and just keeping tabs on what these players are up to. But you're absolutely right, though. You know, PUBG Mobile, huge battle royale, one of the biggest battle royales in the circuit, not just here in ESL Mobile, but just in general in esports. And the caliber of skill we're seeing is just, you know, a spectacle just to witness it. And some of the stuff they're doing, like, you know, some of the teams destroying like a quarter of the servers, and you're scratching and thinking, you know, I wish I could do something like that. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, a lot of these teams I mentioned before are very highly trained, very highly skilled. And there's a wide variety of skill in PUBG Mobile, especially in the ESL Mobile Open, from high to low tier. So a lot of these high tier teams will change strategies and use different strategies in order to, you know, improve their skill set. For example, some teams who are extremely good at PUBG Mobile may only pick up a few weaponry or some weapons in their arsenal and a few bits and pieces in order to take down some of their opponents which may have better weapons, but at the same time, that's just another form of looting for them, and then they can continue on making that path to, you know, increase their kill feed as they push on. So a lot of different strategies to use here, especially when there's a different variety of skill like I've already mentioned. But yeah, we've seen some of these teams just destroy a quarter, even a third of the server, and it's just absolute filth to watch, but it's just beautiful at the same time.
Absolute filth. I love it. Right, leaderboard time. Let's have a quick look and see how the leaderboard is standing after 3 weeks of PUBG Mobile. We've got Team 1218 out of the woodwork. Where have they come from? 700 11 points in total. Panda still staying in the top 3, but they've slipped down ever so slightly, 649. And Team X9 and Bs still sitting in the top 8 as well. But, you know, it's getting closer and closer as we go down. But look at that. 6th place, X9, are almost like 60 points behind the top spot. That's essentially, if you're looking at it in layman's terms like I would be, 60 kills, Lethal.
It's madness, isn't it? Even from 9th to 16th, they're 200 plus lower than the rest of the fray. It's pretty difficult to comprehend how much of a difference has been. And I'm sure a lot of people at home will recognise some of these names if they kept up from last season's finals, FTY Esports, OP Devils. You know, there's a few there. Even Tip Top Fate and I think Tip Top Esports were 8th currently in rankings. I assume there used to be Tip Top Teletubbies and the other team. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, maybe the same teams in terms of organisation, just slightly different names on the ending. But look how close it is from like 11th to 15th. It's literally just small margins of error, just a few kills in it between some of them. And we do have a few interesting facts as well, like Team 1218, who've just literally come out of nowhere, 372 kills, 10 chicken dinners. But the teams from 2nd to 4th have had, you know, around the 250, 350 kind of margin in terms of kill rate. But at the same time, they've had about 12 chicken dinners. So slightly better placement, but it's all about those kills at the end of the day.
Yeah, X9 have 12 chicken dinners as well, but it's about the consistency, isn't it? It's about being able to have high kill games and high positions as well consistently throughout all of your matches, because you do have a limited amount of matches that you can play so that everyone is on a level playing field, so you can't just absolutely spam playing matches constantly. We're going to dive straight into Erangel, and we've got Major Pride here, currently sitting in 2nd position, and quite early on in the game, we've still got 30 alive, 9 teams, only 1 kill sitting on their side, and they've got 1 man down. So Lethal, mate, talk me through what's going on here.
Well, they're in a spot of bother, I'm telling you that right now. The most open space possible, but if they take a couple of these players down, they could be okay, and they can loot up and recover straight afterwards, as Chris rocking that UMP. So far, so good. Don't need to take him down as of yet, just using those players to bait out where the rest of the squad are, but it looks like it won't be happening, so they're just going to try and pick up bandits, and Chris is now staying alive. It does need to heat up a little bit more, but he's already used some of these utilities in order to try and recover, so it's going to be a while for that. It is rocking the Scar as well, but has a full med. He does have some loot to pick up there because he was running out of meds, which is perfectly understandable. And he has 1 energy drink in hand, hasn't got any painkillers or adrenaline, but the main thing is he's recovered, he's okay, and I'm sure we can find a little bit more because there's still 8 teams left, 24 left remaining, and 3 of the players are still up, which is very good, especially at this stage in the game.
Yeah, 3 up. We're only on the 5th circle right now. The blues coming in fairly slowly, but look at that. It's still quite dense for the amount of people that are around at the moment. Like 21 alive. They're all fairly close by. We've got 2 teams relatively close to Team Pride. Major Pride, let's call it. And by the way, it's Bandita. I'm going to go with the Bandita name. And Pride, we've got Chris, who is going to be racking up some kills. Keep an eye on the kill feed because Chris absolutely goes on a tear in this particular match.
Definitely going to keep tabs on him. Some great nades, though, just to... Oh, actually, one of the nades is taking down one of the players on the opposite side. So fantastic usage of utility once again. As Tencent now just going to bring out that buggy to see if it can just bait out any of the players. But also, the main thing with this buggy is feeding himself information, find out exactly where they are, and then the rest of his team can then decide exactly what they want to do. He actually just dips straight out. He's still got the Scar, so he's going to be okay because of what he wants to do. Does have a level 3 helmet and armor, so at least he'll be able to survive a little bit longer if he takes any other engagements. But we're going to skip a little bit now. Already, Major Pride have 8 kills to their name. Still 3 of them up. 4 teams left, 11 alive. Now Tencent's just waiting to see what he can use with that N4, as a few of the players now just, again, trying to feed himself info to decide what their plan of action is going to be.
It is the confidence plays, though, isn't it, really, Lethal? Because, I mean, being able to have the confidence, like Tencent right here, to go into a vehicle and wing it round the other players to try and at least get the viewpoint or get a vantage point on some of your opponents, and then essentially you're leaving your team behind. Having the confidence to actually do that against some top-level teams is essential to actually come away with some really high kill games or some high kill chicken dinners in this competition, because that's what you need to do. We're looking between 10 and 15 kill chicken dinners is going to get you into that top 8 position if you can do that consistently.
Certainly does. Could not agree more there, Banks. Is, yeah, that buggy earlier on. Again, Tencent just spamming with the M4 to see if he can get any damage done on the opposite side. Did realise one of the players scooted on across just to help his team out a little bit, just trying to stick together rather than go for angles. So it seems like they're more working on their coordination to go as a wolf pack. Tencent now just got cooking a nade just to throw across to see if anyone's going to push for the smoke. No one has yet, but all three teams are just standing their ground, and you can see on the opposite side again, Major Pride now will be able to find one. There's one other players also get taken down, but Bandita does get cleaned up. Chris is also taking down one. Tencent just see if he can find another angle, which he does. Brilliant stuff there from Tencent. Doesn't take him down, but it's done a huge amount of damage, knowing that some of them are still towards that lower hillside. And again, getting out the M4. Does have the Uzi if anyone comes up close range, just spamming it through the smoke in case anyone's actually trying to push through. But again, it's all about awareness, making sure that if any of them do make a random push, then at least they can keep them at bay. Two teams left. It is going to be a 3v3, but how's this going to work? Tencent's going to throw a smoke out. Chris does take down one, but two of the players on B is actually taking down another two, which is going to be difficult now for Tencent. Will he stay alive? No, he will not. But in the end, Major Pride, even though they did come second, they've got 9 kills, and you saw their Bees managed to get 13.
A 13-kill win for Bees is huge. That kind of chicken dinner is really going to set you apart from the rest of the squads that are taking part in the ESL Mobile Open, and really just going to rank you up, because if you can remember rightly from when we looked at the leaderboard, Bees are currently in 7th position. Okay, Major Pride is sitting a little bit higher than that, but that's a great game. You had some of the top two teams going up against each other right at the very end there, and I feel like Major Pride had a bit more of a positional advantage there, Lethal. They were higher up, and but they just got caught out.
It was a little bit of a shame. I kind of feel like Tencent was waiting for not just feeding his teammate information, but also at the same time trying to keep that height advantage, positional advantage, like he said, to try and clean them up. But sadly, Chris and Bandita got taken down, which is a little bit of a shame, but it does not matter as we managed to get second place and a decent amount of kills there. We're going to be focusing on X9. Dark Boy already doing a huge chunk of damage with the M4. I must say the recall and the cursor placement, they're looking phenomenal, just keeping couple of players on the opposite side at bay. But still, they're doing their job. Even if they're not taking them down, they're wasting their meds. I think another got cleaned up there. Could get cleaned up by the circle as just hiding behind that tree. But from what's seen so far, I think they are in Paradise Resort. From what we've seen so far, as Dark Boy now just waiting, trying to see if any other players from Phobos on that opposite side of the map are going to push in. And surely they will, because it's quite an open space. They could get a few more kills here.
All right, we're on Sandhawk. X9 absolutely clearing their way through this ESL Mobile Open at the moment. They're currently sitting in 4th, doing an extremely good job of staying up in that top 8 position, because they've been doing extremely well. They're very consistent. They did this in the Spring Open as well. So definitely have a great amount of consistency. TN Alex may be a sub in, but that's what we were discussing earlier, weren't we, Lethal? Potentially being brought in for this matchup. But, you know, positional advantage, looking at this particular setup they have right now, couldn't be further from the last match we just watched on Erangel, being so open. Now we got multiple buildings all around, so who can basically scope out from the right areas, the right windows? Look at that, one tap straight across with the semi-automatic rifle. Absolutely unreal, popping off with the damage there. TN Alex, what a great sub, Lethal.
Yeah, you could say it's a super sub at the moment. I can see why he popped in to say hello with the rest of the squad coming into this matchup. Dark Boy takes down another. But again, look at this. Alex has been really weary about that hillside. He was not too sure if anyone's going to flank around. Remember, there's still 8 teams left and anything can happen. Someone might make a desperate push across. But I must say, though, Clara, again, just getting another frag. Oh, even then, they've got full coverage. They're in the circle as well. They've got great cover. It's just a matter of their opponents coming to them. That's what it's all about. They've got great positional advantage. They don't need to make a push. They don't need to do anything else in terms of flanks or rotations or taking a different path. Just let the kills come to them and just bide their time.
Yeah, if you've got the position, you just don't need to move. We love to see aggressive plays across all of the games that we cover in the ESL Mobile Open, but if you don't need to, you don't have to. When you're in this kind of position, you're inside a vantage point that has vantages out, north, south, east, west. You really don't need to. He's going to get a lovely little Molotov into there. If he can get a connect, but he just can't. But that player from INFE is just going to chill out in the blue and just keep medding up until he has a better position, till he can actually get a move on. But TN Alex is definitely keeping his eye on. He knows exactly where they are. Are they going to get taken out as they push towards him? Ooh, No,
Okay.
that'll be a no, right? Oh, there we go.
He's just trying to throw your timing off, Banks. It's fine. He knew you were
Exactly.
going to call it, and he was just like, "Do you know what?
Damn.
I'm just going to delay it on purpose." Damn.
Way to
it,
make me look
damn it.
stupid, Alex.
Yeah. So we've got 4 teams left here, Banks. 9 alive. And look at this. X9 have all 4 of their members up. Alex, again, just been extremely weary on that hillside, knowing that the majority of that team are just hanging around, just trying to see exactly where they're going to come from. I haven't got a huge advantage, but actually, no, saying that, they've got the cover. They're still just about in the circle, but I'm worried about the next phase if it does come to it. As you can see, some of the players of TK just holding that positional angle, just making sure they've got every advantage possible. There's not many of them left here, so it makes sense as to why they need to take everything as it comes.
Yeah, I think you would as well, wouldn't you? If you're on Team TK, you've got the height advantage. You have to hold that as much as you can, because if you could spot any of the players from X9 trying to push out, like right now, maybe TK could get a spot on them and then, get a few pot shots off and at least maintain that high ground, which is what you're desperately trying to grasp when it comes to Battle Royales.
It's difficult, though, for Alex because he doesn't have the anger. He has a little bit of advantage. Oh, he's going to find one there. He looked away at the worst possible time as... Yeah, it's just timing of a day. It's super annoying, but Alex will see him eventually. He's probably hearing him coming up now. So you probably find him through the audio cues, but some great nades there. He's got an AK as well, and the AK has a huge amount of recoil. So hopefully he's going to, Walanan coming from close range is going to mid up. Perfectly understandable. Does have a energy drink, a painkiller as well in his back pocket if he needs to use it. Does have 3 in terms of armor. Dark Boy has 2. Alex does take down Darko, though, from TK, so he's going to be pretty pleased about that. 3 teams left, 8 alive. His Dark Boy's going to have to make that rotation soon. And Alex, again, look at this. He's been holding this angle for literally the last couple minutes, just making sure no one drops down in any way. But they're not going to, though. They have no need to make that drop. As they are all going to come up, though. Clara does take down one, is going to try and take down another. Does not, as Sir actually finishes him off. And look at this. It's going to be very scrappy towards the end as they finally get cleaned up. That was, not gonna lie, a little bit hectic for my liking, but they did come out on top. 14 kills. And this is what I'm talking about as well. When it comes to the kill feed, of course, with the wide variety of skill in this match, especially PUBG Mobile and ESL Mobile Open, it's all about that kill feed, all about the kills rather than placement. And even if you're constantly taking people down all the time, keeping your aim warm across the board against your opponents where they've only had 3 kills, they're going to be a little bit rusty in some of those engagements.
They had 11 kills leading up to that final moment up against Tien, who was sat above them, and then managed to just flood out, get the kills, and they managed a 14-kill chicken dinner, which is exactly what we're looking for to maintain your spot in that top 8 of the leaderboard. Because, I mean, what a showing from them. The teams that came in 2nd and 3rd, racking up, what, about 3 kills each, something like that? So X9 definitely showed up there. And now we're moving on back to Erangel. We've got Team B's here. Papula actually racked up 9 kills in the win that Team B's got in our first clip on Erangel. So now we're on to the next clip on Erangel. And Papula, we're going to be covering him for a while because he is just absolutely going on a tear in every single map. You're going to see some of the accuracy, and bear with us as well, because towards the back end of this clip, some craziness happens. Let's just call it that. Right, Lethal?
I couldn't agree more, as Papula, great long-range recoil there with the M4, but still scouting out for info. Hasn't really got anything to go by. Yeah, sure, there's a couple of smokes he could spam, but I don't really know how much ammo he's got to spam with. But you know what? He's going to cover his own backside here, Banks. And after that smoke, which initiated, you can see a couple of players from the opposite side of those mountains, Rika, just trying to spam across Papula. But at least now he's got the cover with the smoke. Has a feeling that one of the players are still there doing the exact same thing, but just on the polar opposite side of the map. And look at the recoil as he takes down one of the players there. I think it was actually Nexus at the time. It's actually taking down his teammate at the same time. He's trying to pick him up as well. And look at this. The amount of damage he's inflicting across the map here is just nothing short of spectacular.
Just so much confidence to be a step out from the tree while I get my words together. Stepping out from behind the tree, even behind the smoke. I mean, as soon as you pop smoke, people are going to start spraying pot shots through the smoke just to try and catch you out if you're trying to juke behind the tree. But the confidence to just step out, take out 2, and then there's a 3rd who's crawling through, snake in the grass. Papula is on an absolute tear. Like I've said, that's probably the 3rd time I've said it, and I mean it, Lethal.
Couldn't make up some of the stuff he's doing. I can't believe he's getting away with going towards the crate to use it as coverage or even sneak it around afterwards. He's actually purposely peeking out to see if anyone will shoot him back, so he can say to his teammates, well, right, they're here, they're there, they're absolutely everywhere, and just pinpoint exactly where they are. But no one wants to fire. Some of these teams are actually more focused on placement. That's what it's telling me at the moment. But look at this, 2 teams left, 4 alive, and it is going to be a 3v1 scenario for this team, which is going to be B. So it's a matter of trying to find him, and this is why he's sticking out in the open a lot more than before. If there was like quite a few teams left, then of course he wouldn't be doing this. He will be literally knocking on death's door if he takes these risks. But it's not going to happen. I've still got plenty of meds, still rocking the 2-2. And now he's going to find out exactly where this last player is. But we'll find him eventually. He's actually quite close by. And he's not really sure. Let's see, again, Bees haven't got the info they so desperately desire or require in this respect, because they're trying to find out, right, okay, if they take down one player, then it's going to be a 2v1. And they don't want to, you know, get any kind of disadvantageous situation as they push it on forward. But it looks like I heard a few gunshots there. They know that he must be in that smoke, but again, they're skeptical of it, knowing that S-Wave is actually just there, sitting there.
Lack of a better phrase here, Lethal.
Exactly.
Lack of a better phrase. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's right underneath the vehicle, and there's a rock right there. Can he get the shots off? And he can't. He has to reload. Switch out, next gun.
Okay, he got there in the end. I think the main thought process is the fact that he threw another smoke down, and yeah, there is no doubt about it. There's nowhere else that guy is going to go. He's going to have to sit there and just wait for, well, I don't know what he's waiting for a miracle maybe. I have absolutely no idea. But at first I thought to myself, okay, he's probably just hoping that maybe he's gone to a different location and he can just med up in the smoke. That's not the case. One of the players even saw him throw that smoke. There was no getting out of that behind the bucket. There was absolutely nothing he could have done. He should have probably taken that fight straight afterwards, but I think he was just keeping his fingers crossed that he would miss every shot, which he almost did, but it's fine. It's fine. He's going to be okay. He wasn't going to win that 1v3, and if he did, it would have been close to a miracle anyway. But Bees showing what they do best and getting a nice high fragging game.
Speaking of going to a different location, I think he just went to make a sandwich. I think he knew that it was absolutely game over. I would have as well, mate. But I said before in the previous week, once the ball is rolling, a lot of these teams, you know, they start getting momentum behind them, and then the large wins, the big chicken dinners start coming through, the 10s, 11s, 12s, 30s, and we saw a 14 kill chicken dinner. That's nearly a quarter of the map, isn't it? Lethal loves his maths, by the way, so if you love any maths equations, drop them in the chat and he'll answer them for you. But if you want to drop into Erangel with your squad, just put !sign up in the chat, follow all the instructions, and you and your squad could be on the path to glory and riches, because there's a prize pool at the end of the tunnel. That's all I'm going to say about that. But we've got we've got loads more to get through in today's weekly recap. And so after this very short break, we're going to have Clash Royale. So don't go anywhere.
ESL Mobile Open is brought to you by DHL and Pay Safeguard.
Welcome back. I hope you're sat comfortably because we are about to see some OG mobile gaming. And I say OG because we are going to be discussing Clash Royale. That is our next game in the gauntlet of games, let's call it, okay? Each week, we've got Clash Royale. There is a single elimination bracket with a final at the end of the week to determine the leader of that week. Lethal, I'm a huge fan of that system.
This is like the format I grew up with. Like, you know, either single or double elimination. Either way, I prefer bracket play rather than league format. Don't get me wrong, league formats serve different titles in different ways. It depends on the circumstances. But yeah, for Clash Royale, it makes perfect sense as to why they brought this bracket play in instead of the pool play or any kind of league format. So it means it gives everyone an even footing, an even playing field to decide who's going to be able to make it further on. But we've seen numerous different champions. We've seen numerous different players make it quite far up. We've seen some players, they'll get to the semis, and next week they'll get the round of 128. Like, we've seen some balmy placements.
It also comes down to, you know, how do you play on the day? Like, on the day, if you have a good day, awesome. But like you just mentioned, you could go out round 128, you could go out in the semis. So we're going to see some of that today because we're going to get to that at one point. I know why you brought that up. I'm smelling what you're selling, Lethal. We got a leaderboard now in front of you. Or less of a leaderboard, more of a bracket in front of you right now. Some of the people that you may recognize from Spring Open, you got Inoraj, Chief Keef, who unfortunately, as you can see on the screen, did get eliminated in the quarterfinals. We're going to be showing you our first match fairly shortly, but just to let you know, our first match is actually from the round of 16. It is not from the quarters onwards up to the semis or the grand final. It is from the round of 16. So that's going to be our first match, just so that there's no confusion for you guys at home. But Lethal, I mean, any of these names like popping out to you? Because I'm loving seeing some variety of some of these players.
Well, do you know what? We were talking about players that would win and then sometimes get round of 256, and I said round of 256, there's hundreds and hundreds of teams, players, not even just in Clash Royale, but just across the board here at ESL Mobile. And Alkama, I believe, actually got knocked out around 128 last time round. This time round, he's actually made it all the way and won the entire thing back. So this is what I'm talking about, and it's what you said as well at the exact same time. It depends how people play on the day. It's very difficult to comprehend what decks they have, and maybe some decks work better than others, and maybe they get hard counted in some of those weeks. It really does depend, but I think we saw Infill as well. We've seen him quite recently, maybe even last week, get a very high placement.
I feel like we should do a little bit of a deep dive into Alkama's round of 128 where he got knocked out, because he could have got knocked out by the winner of that bracket. You never know. You're going to have to go back and have a quick look at that. But first up, we're going to have our match from the round of 16, and it's going to be Chief Keef versus I Beat You. So let's have a cheeky look. Kick us off, Lethal. What do we got?
Well, we have a fair amount. We're going to start off with Kiefer. You can see the Dark Prince just waiting, plan of action. We've got the Inferno Dragon as well. The Electric Wizard we don't see too often here, and the Rider as well, just coming out to start things off. Does have the Snowball and the Bandit for later on, but on the opposite side, we do have pretty standard deck. You can see with the arrows, the Fireball. We saw the Mortar, which has just come up as well, and the Graveyard, which we've seen quite often. Just depends how much value he gets with it later on, and he does have the Archers to use later on for a little bit of defense if he gets in a little bit of trouble.
Do you think that the Ram Rider and the Hog Rider are best friends or arch nemesis? Nemesis?
I think you're asking the wrong person, mate.
You should know these kinds of things, Lethal. Come on, mate.
I know the guys, but I don't know if they're best mates, but I don't know, maybe you should ask him. I have no idea. But
the creativity up the top of that noggin. Come on, Lethal. Right, Keith dropping in and Inferno Dragon on the top right to try and basically tank as we go all the way down to this right side. Maybe get a few pot shots of damage, doesn't quite make it. The Archers in good defense, but here comes the tanking troop from Keith on the left side. You got the P.E.K.K.A. pushing his way down. He's going to tank nicely for the Ram Rider, so hopefully the Ram Rider can get past. He's not going to be able to do anything to the actual Inferno Dragon, so no defense there. But we've got the E-Wiz doing absolute work, and the P.E.K.K.A.'s still up, so the Ram Rider is going to be distracting in the middle section. Are they going to be able to get any pot shots off? Here we go. Some damage starts getting inflicted on I Beat You's left side, along with the Snowball. That's a great addition there from Chief Keef.
Yeah, good defense there from I Beat You. Had to Took a lot of work to take out that Peck and the Ram Rider, as you rightly said. The Archer will get taken down eventually, but did a tiny bit of damage to the left Queen Tower, but that's going to be about it. But you can see from the damage counter so far, already lost 800 on that left Queen Tower of I Beat You. Now the Pecker comes down straight away. Will be pushed towards the back just to bet out anything which comes from I Beat You. It looks like it will be that Inferno Dragon. It just depends if that Inferno Dragon will go on the side of Keith's map, because if it does, it means the Queen Tower will do some extra damage as well. But it looks like they're going to be stopping him with the Inferno Dragon as well, with the Pecker now just trying to burst through. But the Dark Prince is trying to stop him in his tracks. But you see the Electro Wizard as well trying to do the exact same thing. But the Dark Prince just diving on in just to try and take down that Mortar, because the Mortar, not only is it going to do a fair amount of damage, but it's going to distract that Pecker and actually divert his course.
If the Pecker can just get 1 or 2 shots off on that left tower, exactly as I say it, if a Pecker can get any shots off on a tower, it is just curtains. All of that damage just got absolutely demolished by Chief Keef. And now he's absolutely spamming that emote button, isn't he, mate?
He could be having a bit of a giggle. He could be BMing. No one knows at this point, but I think it's just due to the fact that there's only 10 seconds left. He's already taken out one of the towers of I Beat You, and that's going to be about it. It's going to be curtains. As sadly for I Beat You, he couldn't really get much damage done, and he was pretty much counted from what we saw so far. Yeah, sure, he could divert a lot of the attacks, which were quite slow. It wasn't enough in terms of DPS to really distribute anything across the board. He couldn't stop anything at all, which is a shame, but these things happen really, which is why some people may get knocked out first or second round, or some of the players win the whole thing.
Yeah, fairly comfortable win there for Chief Keef. I mean, that Pecker, the tanking, it was just too much. I Beat You just had to commit too many cards into trying to stop the Pecker from going across into his side. And you know what? It just didn't happen at the end of the day. And you know what? This deck just outweighed in the favor of Chief Keef that particular time. But yeah, like you said, how do you play on the day? How do you utilize your deck against your opponents? And Chief Keef just came out on top. Next up, we have the quarter final between InThrill and Baby Pro. Now, this is quite an interesting one we've got here, because we've got a fair amount of air cards. I was going to say troops, air cards. We've got the bats.
They're technically the same.
We've got the bats coming in from Baby Pro, which I rarely see in Clash Royale. I don't know if it's at this level, or if the bats just aren't used as much, maybe because they just don't inflict as much damage. But it's nice to see some variety on our screens, Lethal.
Couldn't agree more, as now the Zappies have come out, but they will be greeted with that Golem. We know how tanky he is, and it's really is a pain in the backside to deal with in terms of defense and just trying to keep him back. And with the Night Witch behind it, it's going to be even more of a pain. And this could be an early start here for Baby Pro to try and do some crucial damage. And he still does have the arrows, has the bomber, and he does have the Prince in his back pocket whenever he wants to try and inflict any more damage or just continue the momentum on that left-hand side. But look at this, Bane. Look at the amount of damage done. But the Fireball has taken out the majority of it, but it doesn't change the fact that the Golem's still working away at that left tower. But the Flying Machine on the defense there managed to clean things up, but at what cost?
I really like the use of the Zappies in defense against the Golem, because like we've already said, the Golem is so tanky, but the Zappies slow them down so much. And the Golem is slow already. So actually the Golem getting from one side to the other with Zappies attacking him or defending against him is actually great. And these Elite Barbs dish out so much damage. Look at that, all the way down to 308. One more hit. Thank you very much, InThrill, who was on the back foot, goes up with the E-Barbs and just absolutely annihilates one of Baby Pro's towers.
Yeah, things were looking bad for infield, but it's completely turned it around. Another Golem, another Night Witch to take down here. And look at this, he could be using the Zappies on the defense, but how much DPS can they do here? We have to wait and see. It's already the Golem just trying to take down these Zappies. But even though he's got great DPS, the fire rate's slow, so it's going to be difficult. But the Flying Machine here, you can see just trying to clear out a lot of this attack. But still, though, look how much the King Tower's taking in terms of damage. Already down to 1,897. That's huge, Banks.
Yeah, Golem is just so annoying. Like, you kill it and it splits in half, and you still got to deal with the Golemites, as they call them, don't they? Absolutely outrageous behavior. So we got the E-Barb on the left-hand side causing a bit of damage, but not too much. Yeah, one thing you got to worry about right now is this central King turret, who now can inflict a lot of damage, as you can see. However, you know, already half the amount down of his health. That's just it's a little bit curtains right now. InThrill needs to pull something out of the bag right now. I'm feeling another attack from the E-Barbs coming on, but great use of the distraction using the Goblin Cage against the Golem as well.
Lovely stuff here from Infield, but again, he needs to find out where he can get this damage from. The Zappies have already been cleared up. The flying machine's there, but he's also greeted by Baby Pro's own Zappies. So even though it will go to overtime, the only problem is the fact that how is he going to even be able to go for that right tower? Even the King Tower in that manner, and excuse me, did mean sudden death, but you can see already going for the right-hand side, the bats are trying to take out as much of those minions as possible from Infield. But again, look on the left-hand side, we have the Zappies at the flying machine again, and once more, Baby Pro trying to deal with this attack from Infield. Took him a little bit of time to get into it and get to the swing of things, but he's managed to get there in the end. But will he be able to? The flying machine had so much value and took a lot of time. Another flying machine comes out straight away here, Bankman. And this is looking a little bit better for Infield.
Yeah, I mean, the Bomber actually doing a lot of work there. Great value from a card that just doesn't require that much elixir. Absolutely brilliant. So the Golem, yet again, being dropped by Baby Pro in order to just tank its way all the way over down this left-hand side. It's more of a time waster than anything at this point. A distraction for the most part, because the Golem just distracts every single troop that Inthrill is trying to drop, using the clone spell as well to try and maximize the amount of damage, getting the Dark Prince out there as well. Sorry, the normal Prince, not the Dark Prince. But it's just Baby Pro is coming out on top, is slightly better at defending at this point. Inthrill's just not quite there when it comes to the defense. Maybe he just doesn't have the right deck to try and counter the attacks coming out of Baby Pro. But Baby Pro just seems to be stopping Inthrill in his tracks almost before he even gets over the bridge.
You're not wrong, and this is a good time as well to use his Royal Barbarians to get the surrounding on the Golem to then maybe attack afterwards. A couple of them actually come onto the right-hand side to do work on the King Tower, because Infield knows that it's going to get to a point where it's going to come down to damage rather than who's taking what tower. And already you can see the Prince is coming out. It's going to be very tough to call how this is going to go, because don't get me wrong, there's a lot more damage in favour of Infield, so he may lose this, but seeing what he can do so far, just trying to keep them away right to the very end. These Zappies are just absolute no end, and like I mentioned before, the flying machine got a huge amount of value, but the problem was the fact that the fire rate just wasn't quick enough, and needed to keep those Zappies away, or even the Golem. So it is working out the damage, and it will be in favour
72.
of Infield. So right towards the very end, that was close.
Right down to the wire between, and this is what we expect to see when it comes down to the quarterfinals, semis, grand final. We want to see these maps go all the way down to the bitter end. And what are we going to show you next? It is obviously none other than the grand final of this week's bracket for Clash Royale, and it is between Inthrill, who you have just witnessed, and Alkama. In this grand final, the deck's going to be revealed as played, Lethal, which is something that I'm fairly new to, I've got to say. But honestly, I think this is a pretty strong match. Inthrill had a really, really close match against Baby Pro. Not 100% sure of how clean Alkama's run was, if it was that close as well, or if he just stomped them all. Only time will tell, because we're going to have to see what happens, because time is ticking, and it's taking forever.
It is. So don't get me wrong, guys. We can talk about a weekend. We can just chill here. Oh, you know, I'm just going to put my feet up right now and just wait for something to happen, because at this point, it's already been 40 seconds and no one made a move. Alkama, remember, he actually got knocked out around of 128 last time, and this time round, he's going to be the champion. And yeah, guys, come on. Wasting my time here. Don't make me get the old watch out and get the old tick rate going, because this is taking the mickey. Look at this. It's been a minute. Both of them are just being so patient and disciplined, just trying to decide exactly who's going to go first. And finally, it looked like Infield was like, right, okay, I'm going to have to make the first move. I'm going to come out with the Zappy straight away. And already you can see there, Alkama has come out with the Golem and also the Royal Barbs from the side of Infield.
Well, it seems like Inthrill is getting used to defending against golems. So it looks like he's going to have to do it again. It looks like he's actually got a fairly similar army composition as last time as well. And Alkama has a fairly similar composition to Baby Pro. So could this lean in the favor of Inthrill, just considering experience from his previous matches? Potentially. But Alkama is coming out, all guns blazing, firing the Zappies. He's also got the Bats out, the Golem, and just about the Flying Machine being able to take out in defense, because you got 921 on that right side tower already. Alkama has come out swinging.
Elite Barbs come out as well, will be greeted with the Prince. And the Prince, will he be able to come out on top there? One more will do it, but it looks like the Elite Barb will come out on top. But look at this though, 921 HP left on that right Queen Tower. And now have to deal with the Night Witch and the Golem there as well. I don't know. Even if that Golem's distracted, these Zappies are going to have to do a huge amount of work. And same with the Fly Machine. This is the problem they had before. The fire rate's just way too slow for them to be able to do anything, even with the DPS. But 720 HP left here, Banks. Is he going to be able to do it? If he takes this tower down, that's going to be it.
You've also got to look at Inthrill's damage output as well, because he's done a fair amount of damage to both towers, and Alkama has been focusing on that right side tower of Inthrill. So, I mean, if it comes down to a count, you never know. It's actually fairly close. However, one of them is going to have to destroy something at some point to put our minds at ease and to make us, you know, breathe a sigh of relief. This is a grand final. We want to see a tower destroyed. Only 556 on the right side of Inthrill. And we've got some damage still being chipped away on Alkama's, both of his towers. So it's still fairly close. E-Barb's coming down the left side on the favor of Inthrill. Can he get some damage? Their output of damage is absolutely unreal, the E-Barbs. They're such a strong card. Can he get the Golem all the way to that right side tower? That is exactly what Alkama is looking to do. Distracted at the moment by Goblin Hut. And here we go. Is he going to split in two and get some damage off?
Oh, it's going to be so close. He could be able to do it. And if he does, he will take this grand final. And it looks like he's only 206 HP left. The Golems are still alive, but look at this. The Zappies are getting heavily distracted. So it's the Fly Machine. And it looks like Alkama will come out on top after all that. Very, 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 very slow start. Let's just say the least. But do you know what? They got in the end. It could have, like, we know that both players want to wait for each other to make the first mistake. That makes perfect sense. But the discipline, you've got to have to wait for a whole minute to, what was it, nearly 30 elixir was literally distributed by event and was just wasted and just waiting for each other to come out. Yeah, that was absolute madness. But someone had to come out. It was Infill in the end. But Alkama, the one, he came out on top. Second round last time, this time round the champion.
Well, Clash Royale never disappoints, does it? And it's great to see different players competing in this season and different players making it all the way through to the quarter semis and grand final. And we've still got some of our top 10 regulars in the mix as well. We saw Inaraj, already mentioned him before, but brilliant to see so many more people getting stuck in. So if you want to compete in Clash Royale and the ESL Mobile Open, the Fall Open, I mean this one we're in right now, just put exclamation mark sign up in the chat and you can sign up yourself and go up against some of these players that we are recapping in all of these weekly recaps. It's absolutely great fun. But that's it for Clash Royale this week, so don't go anywhere because we've got Brawl Stars coming up after the break.
ESL Mobile Open is brought to you by DHL and Pay Safeguard.
Apparently, we just can't get enough of Brawl Stars. We had the challenge finals a few weeks ago, literally. I was in Poland on set. Myself, Lethal, D-Man, Ark. We were giving it the absolute beans, okay? We were one of the closest finals we've ever seen, okay? And then a week later, we were sat back here going, okay, let's find the best Brawl Stars team in Europe, Middle East, and North Africa. It just goes to show how impressive and consistent you have to be to make it to the top of these leaderboards, all right? And in this mobile esport in particular, right, Lethal?
Yeah, we didn't really get much of an off-season. I was like, oh, okay, we've got a few weeks, but no, we literally got a week or two. We're not mucking around here, guys. We're literally just cracking straight on with another season and having absolutely no messing around. But yeah, talking about the table and the standings and what you were discussing just now, these players and teams have not been mucking around either. They've already accumulated like 30, 40 games in the space of a couple of weeks, and that's unheard of. The grind is real, like, for a lot of these teams.
The grind is certainly real, and the Brawl Stars leaderboard is going to be shown up on your screens very shortly, and it looks like this after week 3. We can sift through the usual suspects here, but have we got any surprise entrants here, Lethal?
Ooh, let's have a look. So AC Milan Clash have, said hello basically and welcome to the top 8 because they were a little bit far behind, but they didn't really play as many games. They've had other commitments, which is perfectly understandable, but Na'Vi are just spelling trouble for a lot of these teams. But we got to remember is EXO aren't too far behind, neither is Genius Gene. And I'm not too sure who's on a couple of these rosters, but we've obviously heard of Blood Diamond, we've heard of Tribe Gaming, of course we've heard of AC Milan Clash and Na'Vi. So most of those teams are heard of in a competitive scene, but if we switch over to the 9th to 16th ranking, we can see SK Gaming, one of the best teams in Europe, currently 14th, but do take notice the fact that they've only played 13 games. It's funny to say they've only played 13 as though it's not much. That's still a lot, and we've got Reply Totem definitely in this region in the ESL Mobile Open. They placed top 4. SK Gaming won it last time round. So yeah, it's funny to see the 9th to 16th, but it's like I said, it's all about the grind. It's not just about having a mass win streak. You could win 12 in a row and still not make it into the top 9.
Yeah, it's definitely the grind, but it's also who you match up against as well, because, Blood Diamond, they're sitting in 4th right now. They've only dropped 1 game, and it's because they haven't accumulated enough points because the teams they've been playing against haven't necessarily been top 8 every time. So that's the interesting thing. There is a balance that sits there as well. So you could, be 12 and 5, but if you've gone up against some really solid teams, you could still be sitting in the top 8. So that's the interesting thing. I like that balance. I like that implemented into the ESL Mobile Open because we need that kind of structure, So who's going to have come out of the gate swinging? We're about to find out. We've got Blood Diamond going up against worst players. Like I mentioned, Blood Diamond in 4th right now. So are we about to see a pasting, Lethal?
We'll have to see indeed. It's all about Elo stealing here open because a lot of these teams need to try and catch up one way or another. Trick trying to stay alive with that bell, but he's trying to take down Anton there, and he does. So that's useful for taking down the Piper, but the problem is one of the players actually traded him off. So Jarvi actually taken down Sword again, and now this is where we have to defend a level 8 siege bot. It's going to be pretty tough, but we'll see here coming into it, and it will be the last siege bot. So it's going to be crucial how this defense works out. It needs at least 32%, but actually, to be fair, there's not really too much else to talk about here. I've just realised that I thought it was them on 60-something%, which they hasn't. But if they've already got the large siege bot, that means it's going to be a guaranteed win here for them. So they're going to be pretty pleased about it. But let's see if they retaliate in this second game. As already now, Colonel Russ with that super, just using that defensively against Sword's Rico. And he's having a little bit of trouble so far in that left lane.
I mean, it's pretty safe to say that Blood Diamond are really putting it to them right now. However, you don't get to this level by not being extremely gifted. So it just goes to show how good Blood Diamond are and why they deserve to be in this top 4. But once again, level 3 siege bot this time, coming on over and trying to inflict a little bit of damage before they continue. But Blood Diamond looking extremely comfortable at this point.
Yeah, they should be okay. Normally, the very first siege bot takes up between 0 and 30% of the Ike. Not really too much to worry about. They're just tickling the Ike just a tad. And also, it does mean that even if they only have a small siege bot at the very beginning, which is normal, it's standard because there's only 4 bolts available, at least that way they've got map control and keeping their opponents back. And speaking of map control, Blood Diamond doing what they do best, just making absolute havoc and chaos here for worst players. Trying to break out of his setup, which has been a bit of a nuisance from his. Both his players are taken down as only, well, funny enough, only left, and they have to deal with that 1v2 scenario, which is not going to win, and now a level 5 siege bot coming their way.
Tickling the Ike. Did you just say lethal? That sounded very spicy. I'm not gonna lie.
Sorry, mate.
Once again, coming in with another siege bot, level 5 this time, absolutely decimating. And there you have it. Match over 2-0 from Blood Diamond in that particular round. But you know, did I say we're gonna see a pasting from Blood Diamond, or did I say we're gonna see a pasting?
You did. You did. You like I said, you're never wrong. You're like a perfectionist, mate. It's, you know, when you call it, it happens. It's like you got sixth sense or something. But yeah, you saw they didn't even take any damage on their own Ike. It was plain sailing, pretty much. Not really too much to say. They had full map control for the majority of that time, and even one of the players didn't even need to move at that stage because they saw already taken out a couple of players. They needed one more siege, but they've done it. They pretty much destroyed their Ike, and now it's going to be it. So worst players have a lot to work on, but. Yeah, not really too much to say, really. Not really too much to dissect, because it only took 2 siege bots in both those games to clean that series up.
Yeah, Blood Diamond looking extremely comfortable moving in. So we're going to have to see how they do later on in the ESL Mobile Open. We'll have to touch base on it later on in the week and maybe even next week as well. So jumping into SK Gaming, like we've already mentioned, winners of the Spring Challenge Finals versus Simps. So it's, you know, your favorite map that you've already mentioned to me before, Lethal.
It's everyone's favourite map, Banks. I'm joking, by the way, guys. I'm joking. It's fine. But Purple Paradise, yeah, it's very open, rectangular. It's all about mechanics, fundamentals. Can be about composition, but you can see there the Byron, the Jean using that pull, and the Piper for a bit of range. Already taking out one of the other players, taking out the Nani from Sokoni. And you can see that once again, already up by 5 stars. And then you have the blue star as well. Semantic saying I'm having absolutely none of that. Putting back with the Piper. But again, they need to keep control. They need to be careful. Just keep the opponents back, but at the same time, not get too overzealous and overextended. They should be okay. Semantics just diving in because do you know what? He can, Banks. Why not? That's going to be the first game in favour of SK Gaming. And if you guys aren't too familiar with Brawl Stars in the competitive scene, SK Gaming are one of the strongest competitors here in the EU region. Actually, just one of the best in the world as well. And it's very tough in terms of to come up against. But let's see what Simps can do here in round 2.
Yeah, the EU region is arguably the strongest region. Like, arguably. Like, it's absolutely unbelievable. Some of these teams that are competing in the Europe, Middle East, and North Africa, they competed in the World Championships of Brawl Stars as well. So it's absolutely unbelievable. So you're seeing the top tier, the creme de la creme, the cream of the cream, the creme de la creme in SK. And look at the way that they're approaching this matchup as a unit, staying together, isolating certain players from their enemies so that they can guarantee the kill and then they can guarantee the stars and grab all the bounty points. I mean, look at this, 9-0 right now, working extremely well as a unit. And you know what? They're kind of flexing on them a little bit as well, I've got to say. Felt a little bit bad for the Simps just then, but you know what? It is what it is. SK Gaming, for some reason, sitting pretty in number 14th, but I'm sure that we'll see them make the top 8 next week.
Yeah, they need to grind. I feel like they won't get first. I think it's way too out of their reach. Don't get me wrong. They have the potential. Like I said, they're one of the best teams in Europe, so it makes perfect sense. But yeah, they've only got a few days left now. So I reckon if they get 10, 15 matches in, they should be fine. But I'm talking they can't afford more than 2 losses. 1 loss should be fine. But if it's against someone with very low elo, which I can't really imagine happening, like maybe against Reply Totem or something like that, because I think Reply Totem are 11th for 12th, then yeah, it will cause a little bit of trouble. But I'll be gobsmacked if we don't see SK Gaming in the first play-ins. But if we don't see him, they will definitely be in the second play-ins without a doubt. I'll be gobsmacked if they don't. But let's see what Genius Gene will do against Tribe Gaming. Tribe Gaming, a very popular and well-known team. And of course, they have a great reputation for also being one of the best teams in Europe. Let's see what they can do here. Tom taking down Stop Rob, as also Draj taking down Alex here. But look how much damage they're doing to the safe. Down to 26%. Only 16% head, but you can see Tribe Gaming continuing to try and put that pressure on.
I hear a resounding sound from SK Gaming going, challenge accepted. They are going to make it into that top 8 and make it into the play-ins like you just said. But yes, Tribe Gaming, Genius Gene. Genius Gene currently sitting in 3rd right now on our leaderboard. Very impressive. Tribe Gaming EU 5th. Match over. That happened quite quickly, didn't it? Tribe managing to secure that win. And Genius Gene putting up a good fight. We've got some fairly different picks, don't we, here? We've already discussed this, haven't we, Lethal? Seeing variety in the ESL Mobile Open is great, but it's also good because it's something that your opponents aren't expecting. You're coming at them from a different angle. You're utilizing different brawlers to your advantage because they might not be expecting it.
Yeah, you don't normally see the ball in play, but do you know what? He's gone, why not? But the good thing is he can just destroy the haystacks with that ball rush, and then now can pop straight down into the middle, into the center, and then just inflict any damage from any kind of range they like. But now using that barley to its full effect, trying to stop Rob back whilst he's trying to do even more damage to the safe. But look at this though, down to 47%. Getting even worse now. They're struggling to deal with the ball from Spen and using that ball rush again, but he's not even prioritizing the kill now, just prioritizing that safe. Only 6% left. And when he uses that barley to inflict even more, that's going to be fine. That's going to be GG, and nicely done there from Tribe Gaming. But Genius Gene didn't do too bad of a job either. They were tempted to go for that base trade, but yeah, it's just a little bit too late then. Didn't have enough DPS.
I mean, I've got to say, Brawl Stars competitors, they're just getting better and better as we progress. And if you've got the confidence that you're going to win your 1v1s, get aggressive. Don't buckle under the pressure, because the more aggressive you are, and if you can land your shots, the more likely your team can push forward, collect the gems, collect the bounties. Siege. Siege away, my friends. So, Lethal, I've got a question for you.
Go on, mate.
What brawler do you pick, mate? What's your ideal brawler? Oh, that's the question.
It's hard because it depends on, like, the composition, doesn't it? Like, you know, I like to go for, like, the barley. I like to go for a max, like something with a little bit more skill, but like in terms of like abusing Max's speed, for example. We don't really see too much of the max nowadays, which is a little bit of a shame. Like we've seen brawlers like the even sometimes Ball, but more like the Primo and some other brawlers who actually had a little bit of a buff in order to help them excel a little bit further and change up a lot of his composition. So honestly, it really does depend. I don't have a personal favorite. Maybe the Max or the Gene, or sometimes even the Barley. It depends how I'm feeling. If I'm going to play a little bit more of that support role, if I'm just going to go diving in, you know me, I like having that over-aggressive kind of nature in no matter what esport I can compete in or actually play in. But yeah, normally one of those two I might go to really. But for a lot of these players and teams, it's very hard to decide what you want to do. But yeah, it does depend on what composition you want to rock during those matchups.
I thought you'd be into a bit of a Rico, because you like your maths, you like your equations. I'm thinking that angles is something that you'd be into.
But the problem is, though, if my aim's completely off and I'm not feeling like an aim star that day, the Rico is just out of the question.
Your aim's not allowed to be off, Lethal's not allowed to be. But you could be one of those up-and-comers in the Brawl Stars esports scene if you just take the leap. ! Sign up in the chat, follow all of the instructions, and you could be on your way to glory, riches, and, you know, the top of the Brawl Stars leaderboard in the ESL Mobile Open. What could be better? I mean, you've got roughly 4 minutes or so from now, so go to the loo, take a break, grab a cup of tea, because be back here sharpish, because after the break, we've got Clash of Clans.
ESL Mobile Open is brought to you by DHL and Pay Safeguard.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up?
Oh, okay, sorry about that, guys. It looks like Banks may have lagged out, so sorry for staring at you guys and saying nothing for the last 10 seconds. But actually, don't worry, I'm not even going to host anymore. I've done my 15 seconds of hosting for the day. I don't need to do any more. But Banks, welcome back. How are you?
What time to lag out? Literally, like, on the button. And then my headphones just went, blah.
Mate, at least
I
you didn't have to
mean-
stare in the camera for 10 seconds. That's the main thing.
I mean, what I would say, okay, some would say the mobile esport is what I was going to say. Some of our competitors, you know, have been playing this game for almost a decade, okay? And we get some of the best competing in the ESL Mobile Open. You'll see the World Championships teams competing right here. So get ready to see some crazy hits. And above all, when the pros adapt on the fly. That's kind of the thing that you've got to look out for. That's where the pros and the amateurs separate, Lethal.
Certainly is indeed. Clash of Clans has always been about execution and how to go about it, and of course a lot of thought-provoking discussion in terms of how they're going to approach some of these base builds. There's a lot to take in here. It's a very knowledge-based game, but execution is still vital, and you've got to get down to a T on how to get some of these triples. Because again, the EU region is stacked, and you've got players like Alternate Attacks, you've got teams like MCES, you've got Team Elevate, Tribe Game. There are so many great teams here. It's very difficult for some of them, or if not all of them, to get into the play-in, because even then, back in last season, there was quite a few teams that could have made into the play-ins and still couldn't even make it to that stage.
Gotta say, I said that Brawl Stars is probably the strongest region, Europe, Middle East and North Africa. Clash of Clans definitely is the best. And
We're so biased.
Well, the strongest. We're so biased, aren't we? I've got to say, Asia are extremely strong as well. But let's not go there right now. Let's look at the leaderboard. Let's have a look at some of the top teams that we have competing in the Clash of Clans Mobile Open. Time to throw, sitting up top with Demo on that team. So I can only imagine some of the Silent Snipers crew are in and amongst that team. Not confirmed yet. That's just kind of me guessing. No Lex in second. Some of the more familiar faces, ATN Attacks, Carnage Gaming, and Underdogs sitting in 5th, 6th, and 8th, Lethal.
Do you know what I feel like, Banks? I feel like that with Time to Throw, if it is Silent Snipers, the funny thing about them is the fact that they missed out on the ESL Mobile Challenge both times in the losers finals of both planes. Like that is heartbreaking, because they are an extremely strong team if it is them. But I think they thought to themselves, right, do you know what, guys? We just need to get first place and just skip that ESL planes. Clearly, that's our nemesis kind of area in the ESL Mobile Open, and we just need to skip that and try and get to ESL Mobile Challenge a different route, which is fine though. It just means a lot of grinding is needed to be had. But there's a few other teams that you may recognize from the past, Bad Singer, and obviously, how can you not remember, like Team Elevate, MCES, you've got Penta as well. But mind you though, they haven't played a huge amount of games, and also to take into account, there's only a week left. So these teams really need to step up their game and get grinding before the first planes actually get going.
They do indeed. I think we need to see a 13th and 14th duking it out. MCS and Penta both on 1,096 points. It'd be interesting to see them duke it out, because they're two of the top teams that we have in Clash of Clans, you know, for the past 3-4 years. Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, since I've been, you know, working within the Clash of Clans community, those two teams, absolutely amazing. Let's call them clans, Lethal. Those two clans. That makes more sense, doesn't it? So we're going to dive into our first matchup between 12th place, Team Elevate, and Repotted Gaming, 4th place. We're going to have Mudder attacking Queen Charge Dragon Riders. We love a good old Queen Charge. That seems to be where the meta lies. And the Dragons' air attacks just seem to be so OP. So as long as you can get in, get that Town Hall down, which looks like he's going to be using Sneaky Goblins inside the blimp, that is looking spicy already, Lethal.
It certainly is indeed. I've only been involved in the Clash of Clans scene for the last 6 months, but I must say they've been very welcoming, and it's definitely a game I've been grinding literally almost on a daily basis. Just keep up exactly how the meta's been changing and how things have been going here on out. Ooh. And look at this already, just grinding towards that south side with the King, and that right compartment's already been cleared here, Banks. So already a fantastic start. Just a matter of where they're going to place these Dragon Riders and these Loons. But We're going to find that out momentarily, as already you can see from down below, already they're going to start destroying a lot of the structures on the south side just to create that funnel as the Queen now going to the next compartment, taking out some of these builder huts, and now going to be taking out that Nets Expo.
Mudder maybe not assuming that there was going to be that many super minions coming out of that CC, because he had to pop the Queen's ability early. Definitely don't want to be doing that. So now he's going to have to adapt on the fly. You don't have the Queen's ability anymore. So utilize that Grand Warden ability as much as you can. Timing is of the essence when it comes to this attack now. You no longer have the Queen's ability. You still have her at full health. The healers are still nice and topped up as well. So she's still going to do a serious amount of damage, but you don't have her ability for the back end if things start to get a little bit dicey. So you can't rely on that at all. Now it's going to have to be the second part of this attack coming in with the Grand Warden and some of the loons as well. The Dragon Riders are going to be coming in as well. Pop that Grand Warden ability at the last physical moment. The scatter shot is focusing on, troops that are elsewhere at the top of the base right now. So you don't really have to focus in. There you go. There goes the Grand Warden's ability used for these loons pushing through with the Dragon Riders, who are nice and healthy still. And they're going to inflict some serious damage, Lethal.
How on earth has he kept this Queen alive for so long? He had to use a couple of rage spells, a couple of invisibility spells as well. And look at this, the Queen has been on about a quarter HP for the majority of this matchup. But it's because of the fact that the bulk of the defense there with Multi-Inferno Town and a couple of Expos was just dealing so much DPS. So you had to use up a lot of his spells to try and keep this attack going. And you can see already the minions just cleaning out some of the outer structures. Still a few Dragon Riders as well. And we know how much HP they have. They are a pain in the backside to take down. Just taking out this Tesla farm, the Multi-Inferno there in that southern compartment. And there's not really too much else here. As you can see, the Archer Tower on the south side. And this is going to be a nice little triple here for Mudder.
Yeah, that last air defense going down, I was thinking to myself, that is it. Thank you very much for the triple. As long as you don't time fail, you're absolutely sorted, because those air defenses are really the only thing that's going to be a nuisance when you're going up against a Dragon Rider. Maybe you had to worry about the Tesla a little bit, but the Dragon Riders were pretty much full health, so you did not need to worry about it in that particular attack. Very strong from Mudder right there. I mean, put them in a great position. And, these are the teams that are in the top 16. They're making a good impression. They're really trying to, every single win matters, trying to get into that top 8 by Friday this week. So you don't have a lot of time, like you've been speaking about, Lethal, already. But our second match, we're going to have Indie Fox Esports going up against Bad Zinga. Indie Fox currently in third position. I'm not as familiar with them, but good on them for coming in third position so far. Bad Zinga in 10th, looking to push into that top 8. So we're going to have Retired Noob from Indie Fox to go in with this attack. And it's going to be a Queen Charge Lalo. Nice and reliable, Lethal.
Yeah, common attack you normally see every day, but even the Queen Charge Dragon Riders has been the most popular attack last month. This time around it seems to be pretty much the same, but of course we haven't got a huge amount of statistical analysts to go by in terms of what is most popular, but I'm sure we will find out throughout the planes coming up this week and the ESL Mobile Challenge later on in the year. And already using that Queen now just to dive into that, the Town Hall compartment on the south side, and with the King as well coming up on the western side to clean out some of these structures. And already the RC coming out to take a lot of defenses there. The Multi-Inferno, the Cannon, and the AD there as well, just to keep it safe. And you can see the Town Hall has been taken down from that southern compartment. The King's diving on in to go towards that scatter shot, and it's looking pretty good so far from the Tide Noob.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is actually a hero dive. I've just kind of clocked it right now. Sorry for you Clash of Clans OGs that are screaming at your monitor right now. But that was the Queen jumping into the compartment of the Town Hall. Popped her ability. You got the Royal Champions jumped in. Popped her ability. And then you also had the King who's jumped in from this left side from 9 o'clock and popped his ability. So now you've got a straight shot from top to bottom with the Grand Warden. All of these loons using the Ice Golem nice and early on as well, with the Stone Slammer from the right-hand side to take out this air defense as well. So this is pretty much a Sui Lalo or a Hero Dive Lalo, for whichever you want to use, however kind of terminology that you want to use. What is going to pop out of this Stone Slammer? It's more loons, Lethal.
Why am I not surprised? I don't even need to say so. Already there's so many loons here using that haste spell just to speed things up a little bit here, Banks, just to make sure to not time file like you rightly mentioned earlier on. Another haste comes down again. And literally it's pretty much follow the leader here. Banks just trying to clear out the rest of these defenses here. Only the Wizard, Archer Tower, and that last Tesla, as well as a couple of these Expos, or Grandmas you could say at this point. And even then, the minions just clean up the structures on the outside. That is going to be another triple for Retired Noob. That's if he is retired. At this point, it does not look it at all. The sweeper, I was going to say, is actually doing those loons a favour, but because of the Expo still being there, it doesn't do a favour at all in the slightest, but it doesn't matter. The damage has already been done. Indie Fox looking very, very solid and bouncing if they were around last season. We'll have to see if they can qualify this time around for the ESL Mobile Challenge. And we spoke about the last clip as well with Team Elevate. The thing with them is the fact that they had some great attackers and they were able to think on the fly, recover when necessary, good improvisation as well, but it's always their defenses that let them down. But they've had a little bit more time now to kind of evaluate exactly what they want to do in order to work on their base builds coming into the not just the planes, but hopefully maybe the ESL Mobile Challenge as well. But at the same time, though, they barely had an off season. They had what, a week until they had to start the season all over again. So it's been pretty rapid.
It is. It's always like a nice quick turnaround, but we want to give people the platform to grow, to go up against some of the best teams that there are in the business. And what better way than to just keep churning through ESL Mobile Opens from spring to fall. Let's just dive straight in. Let's just give them what they want. Give them all a platform. Give them some money, cash prizes as well. TME coming in, the Indie Fox Esports. Once again, this is against Repotted Gaming, though, this time. So you've got 4th versus 3rd in this particular instance. TME is going to come in strong, as you can imagine, because Indie Fox Gaming, they're putting up, Indie Fox Esports, in fact, so they're putting up some serious numbers at the moment. We've got a Dragon army, pretty much all air, coming in hot with the Queen to start things off. Queen's going to go in to try and take down this Town Hall straight away. Once again, pops the ability, so we're looking at a Sui from the Queen, just to basically ensure that you get the Town Hall down. If you go in, instantly just pop her ability, just make sure you need to get it down. Taking out the top compartment of this base, you've left an L shape going from this top left, going down and then across. This L shape is perfect for utilizing dragons. If you've got rage spells, if you've got haste spells, obviously you're going to need a few free spells in there as well. And look, Grand Warden using the ability nice and early. He's trying to get as much power out there as quickly as possible. And look at all these dragons coming down this left-hand side. This is just carnage. Is it going to last though, Lethal?
Yeah, that's going to be the question. Good position on the Stone Slammer as well. Great angle to come from. They also use the Rocket Loon to take out some of the defenses just to snipe across. Normally you use it to snipe the AD, but it looks like the only AD left now is actually on that eastern side. But still, there's still a lot of the attack left remaining. It just depends on what's in that Stone Slammer. It looks like it will be 5 Loons and a Drag. And speaking of Drags, there's still quite a few of them on that left-hand side. But the Bats will be coming up to play. Normally you don't see the Bats come out. Normally it's on the NA region. I see it literally constantly, or it feels like constantly all the time here, Banks, but we will be seeing it, a little glimmer of it in the EU side. The Drags are coming out, obviously, even though they're quite slow moving. They've got a lot of HP. They're very tanky units, as now they're just on cleanup duty once again. I don't think there's actually any defense. No, there isn't. It's just that last cannon. That's going to be about it. We'll bring out the Rocket Loon anyway, but it doesn't matter. Like I said before, the damage has been done. There's going to be a triple for TME from Indie Fox, doing very well against Repotted Gaming.
Yeah, for those of you wondering as well, you bring out the Bats when there's no more splash damage defenses out. When the scatter shots are taken down, you can then bring in the Bats because there's no splash damage that's going to take out multiple Bats in one hit. So a little bit of knowledge there dropped for you by Banks. I'm here all week, literally. I'm here all week. I'm going to be sat in this chair. No worries. But I love to see teams towards the top of the ladder duking it out. Indie Fox going up against Repotted. Indie Fox currently are 22-2, and Repotted Gaming are 17-4 in our leaderboard as it stands right now. So we're going to have to see how they fare, towards the latter end of this week, and then pushing in towards the Friday show, which is going to be covering who's going to make it into those play-ins. But today's show, I want to see if you have any moments that stand out for you, and you're not allowed to say every single title, okay, Lethal? You pick one, and you say, this was my favorite thing. I'll go first because I've already got it. Okay. That PUBG moment when they couldn't find the guy that was the snake in the grass at the end, classic. Loved it. Great banter from them. I'll keep that one. Okay, what about you, Lethal?
I'm going to say Asphalt because the amount of execution and perfection they have to do on some of these time trials is remarkable. I think the play for me is going to have to be, it was from Sven, I think it's from Nilo as well. Some of the stuff he was doing is just remarkable. But not only that, I'm not going to talk about other games, but I respect all the players in the teams who have been absolutely grinding so far. Like 30-40 matches in the space of just a few weeks. It's hard to comprehend really, but it's looking very good, and we're almost on the final week.
So much commitment, and yeah, that's exactly what we love to see, and people growing, thriving within these titles, and it's perfect because it makes our job easier because we can talk about it and we love to see it. So don't forget, you can still compete in the Fall Mobile Open. Just put ! Sign up in the chat, follow all of the instructions, and you and your team could be competing, me and Lethal could be talking about you right here, right now. But you haven't done it yet, so put exclamation mark sign up in the chat. Lethal's been an absolute pleasure. As always, mate, always a pleasure to work with you. Thank you so much for taking us through all the clips in such style. And thanks again to the production team at ESL for all the hard work you do. Really is absolutely remarkable. And again, like I've already mentioned, it makes our life that much easier. And thank you so much at home for all of your support to your favorite players and your favorite teams. Keep it coming, because that's what drives us all to strive to do better and bring you a better show. My name is Banks. I'm your host. See you next time.
Gangsta walk, still I'm standing tall. Know about the ball, I got my fan with me. All we know is ball to empty out the mouths. The chosen one they call, I take my fan with me. Know about it if you tell, know you're breaking codes. Want your credibility and all fall like dominoes. Can you really take a stance? All I wanna know. Need me real ones when it's time to go. Step in, elevator, this is to